an acre of land for your factory just for 10,000 rupees, because the land values were very less 10 years ago. You purchased it for 10,000. You write the entry land account debtor to cash account 10,000 rupees. Land account is debited with 10,000. You show land in the balance sheet at 10,000 rupees. So this 10,000 rupees is the cost of acquiring land. We show it in the balance sheet at only cost price. But after 10 years, I hope you all know about the boom which has taken place in India. All the land values have increased. Today, the same land has a value of 10 crores. Do we show 10 crores in our balance sheet because it's true value? No, we don't show the land at its market value. We show the land only at its cost price, because we follow a concept called as the cost concept, or it is also called as the historical cost concept. We have to show all assets in our balance sheet at the cost incurred to acquire those assets. How much we have paid to buy those assets, we have to show the assets at that value. That is called as the cost concept. Yes, every year we can subtract a small portion from the assets and we can show it in the P&L account as an expenditure in the form of depreciation. Except for this particular adjustment, assets are shown at the cost price. Okay, so this is called as the cost concept. Now, let us come to the next concept, conservatism concept. Now, what do you mean by the conservatism concept? It's a very, very important concept. I'll give you examples where we have followed this conservatism concept. Provision for bad and doubtful debts. What do you mean by provision for bad and doubtful debts? During the year, we have sold goods on credit. When we are preparing our balance sheet, we find there is huge amount of receivables. There are thousands of debtors in our balance sheet. People who have to pay us money because they have purchased goods from us. We know by experience that some of our customers will become bad. They won't pay us money. So we know that out of the receivables or out of the debtors which we are showing in our balance sheet, maybe 4%, 5% may not be recoverable. It is going to become bad debts. The company is going to get losses. In such a case, we don't wait for the loss to arise. We don't wait for the customer to run away. We know that he is going to run away. We know that we are going to get a loss. We don't wait for it to happen. We know with reasonable degree of accuracy that it is going to happen. We can expect that. It's expected. And we also know with reasonable degree of accuracy the amount which we are going to lose. We can estimate that amount. In such cases, what we do is, from the profits of this year, we keep a portion of our profits aside. We call it as provision for bad and doubtful debts. This is an example of the conservatism concept. Loss is expected. It is immediately recorded. We know that losses are going to occur in the future. We don't wait for the loss to occur. We record it immediately. So expected losses are recorded in our books of accounts. That is called as the conservatism concept. Now, not only this, I'll give you another example of the conservatism concept. We have, let us say we are doing the business of making and selling televisions. We have sold some televisions to our customers. Now we provide a warranty to the customer saying that this television will show beautiful pictures to you. Your life will become very, very happy by seeing this television. Now what happens? The customer takes the television to his home feeling that the TV will change his life. His life will become very beautiful. And when he switches on the TV, it bursts like a cracker. It bursts like a Lakshmi bomb. And what happens is he is injured. His life has become sad because of purchasing this TV. He feels very, very angry. He goes to a court and he files a suit against the company. Now, the case is going on in the court. We know that the TV was defective. The company knows that the TV was defective and we will be required to pay damages to the customer. In such a case, when you know that you are going to pay some amount to a customer, you know that you are going to have a liability to pay an amount in the future, you should not wait, you should immediately record it. That is called as the conservatism concept. According to the conservatism concept, all expected losses, expected liabilities have to be recorded in the books of accounts. You should not wait for the loss to occur. You know that the loss is going to happen, record it. You know that you have to pay a liability in the future, record it. Don't wait for the things to happen. Opposite. You cannot recognize expected incomes. You cannot recognize expected gains. That is called as conservatism concept. You have purchased a lottery ticket, Dhanlakshmi lottery, and if you win the lottery, you are going to get 10 lakhs. Just because you have purchased a lottery, you cannot say that 10 lakhs is going to come to me. I am going to win the lottery. I cannot record the 10 lakhs rupees as an income in my books, because you have to win the lottery, you have to receive the money, only then you can record it in the books of accounts. This is called as the conservatism concept. All expected losses and liabilities which are estimated, where you can estimate the value of the losses, you have to record it in the books of accounts. That is called as the conservatism concept. Examples of conservatism concept: provision for bad and doubtful debts is an example of the conservatism concept. Maintaining provision for discount on debtors is an example of the conservatism concept. Depreciating an asset is an example of conservatism concept. So we have already followed many situations. We have already seen many situations where we are already following this concept for the conservatism concept. Not only that, I remember that I have taught you stock. According to accounting standard 2, we value stock at cost price or NRV, whichever is lower. If the market value of the stock is lower than the cost price, cost incurred to purchase it, we show the stock at the lower value. If the market value is higher than the cost price, we show the stock at the cost price. So, showing the stock at cost or NRV, whichever is lower, is also an example of conservatism concept. I will give you an example to understand this. You have purchased goods. Out of them, at the end of the year, goods costing 10,000 are unsold. You have purchased goods, out of that, goods costing 10,000 are unsold. But when you go to the market, you find that the market value of these goods has fallen down. It is now only 8,000. So when you are going to sell these goods in the market, you are not going to get 10,000, you are going to get lesser than 10,000, you are going to get only 8,000. So we have lost 2,000. It's a loss for us. We have to recognize it. How do we recognize it? We show the stock at cost price 10,000 or NRV 8,000, whichever is lower. We show the stock at 8,000 rupees only. Stock which was worth 10,000 is now shown at only 8,000. That means 2,000 rupees is shaved off. It's a loss for the business. So we recognize that loss. So provision for bad is an example of conservatism concept. Provision for discount on debtors is an example of conservatism concept. Providing depreciation is an example of the conservatism concept. And even valuing stock at cost or NRV, whichever is lower, is also an example of the conservatism concept. I hope the conservatism concept is very clear for you. Now, what do you mean by the consistency concept? This concept is very, very simple to understand. I hope by now you have attended all coaching. You have already completed all the chapters in accounts. You are well aware of the different methods of accounting or different accounting policies which we can follow in certain areas. Let us say, I will give a simple example. Depreciation on an asset. I know that you would have learned many methods for calculating depreciation. You would have followed the straight line method of depreciation. You would have followed the written down value method of depreciation. You would have followed the sum of digits method of depreciation. You would have followed the depletion method of depreciation. You would have learned many methods of depreciation. No. I think you would have also learned about valuation of inventory. When we value the stock, when we value the consumption of inventory, we can follow various accounting policies. One method which we can follow to value inventory, to value stock, is FIFO method, first in, first out method. Or we can follow the LIFO method, last in, first out method. Or we may follow the weighted average price method. Or we may follow the simple average price method. So to value closing stock, you have 4 options: FIFO, LIFO, weighted average, simple average. To calculate depreciation, you have so many options available. Now the question comes, can I change the methods every year? This year I follow FIFO, next year I follow LIFO. This year I follow SLM, next year I follow WDV. Is it possible? Can you do that? The answer is no. You cannot do that. The accounting policies have to be followed on a horizontal basis. there cannot be any fluctuations when you are following the accounting policies. That means a particular method which you have used or which you have applied for depreciation has to be followed throughout the life of the asset. If you have been following FIFO method to value stock this year, even in the future you have to keep following FIFO method only. You cannot change the accounting policies from one year to the next year. You have to follow the accounting policies on a consistent basis. This is called as the consistency concept. I think this point becomes very clear for you. Now, why should I not change? The answer comes, if you change the methods, the profits or the results of the business will be affected. I hope you have practiced sufficient problems on inventory valuation. If you have practiced sufficient problems, you will find that in an inflationary economy where the prices are rising every year, in an inflationary economy, if you follow the FIFO method of valuing inventory, closing stock value will be higher when compared to the value of closing stock if it is valued according to the LIFO method. Closing stock value will be higher if you follow the FIFO method. It will be lower if you follow the LIFO method. Now, what will happen if I follow FIFO or LIFO? Let us say you want to increase the profits of your business. Just change the method of valuation of inventory from LIFO to FIFO, profits will increase. If you want to decrease the profits shown in your trading account, how should I do that? I have been following FIFO method. The value of the stock is higher. Now I want to reduce the profits. Change it to LIFO. Automatically the value of the stock will reduce and automatically profits will come down. See, if you want, you can experiment. Take a trading account, just change the value of closing stock. If you increase the value of closing stock, you will find that the profits have increased. If you decrease the value of closing stock, you will find that the profits have decreased. So profits can easily be altered just by changing the value of closing stock. How can I change the value of closing stock? No need to change anything, just change the method. Change it from FIFO to LIFO or LIFO to FIFO. Automatically values will change and profits will be affected. So it is not correct to change or alter the profits just by changing the methods. I'll give you another example. Depreciation. If you calculate depreciation under SLM method and if you compare it with WDV method, the depreciation amount will be different. It will not be the same. If you want to change the profits, just change the method of depreciation from SLM to WDV or from WDV to SLM. Automatically values will change, automatically your profits will be changed. It will be altered. Without changing the business, without changing the business transactions, just by changing the methods, profits can be affected. That is why our accounting standard 1 issued by the ICAI clearly specifies that consistency is a fundamental accounting assumption. Every year you have to follow the same accounting policies, you have to follow the same accounting methods. You cannot change it from one year to the other year because if you change the methods, profits will be affected and it is not correct. See, I'll give you one more example to understand the consistency concept. In 1 year, let us say, for the year ended 31st December 2011, we prepared our trading account by following the FIFO method of inventory valuation, which was on gross profits. In 2012, we have prepared trading account for the next year, but we have followed the LIFO method. Can you compare these profits? The answer is no, we cannot compare the profits because trading account of 2011 was prepared using FIFO method of valuation. In 2012, it has been prepared using the LIFO method of inventory valuation. The accounting policies behind these trading accounts are not the same. The trading account loses comparability. We cannot compare them at all because the basis is not the same. See, we can compare heights of two people when they are given the same base. If they are standing on the same base, we can compare the heights to find out who is taller and who is shorter. a person is standing on the first floor and a person is standing on the ground, can we compare their heights? The answer is no, because the other person is standing on the first floor. His height will automatically be taller. So you have to give the same basis to compare the heights. In a similar way, when you are preparing your financial statements, the accounting policies behind financial statements of this year and the next year should be the same to compare them. If you don't have the same policies, financial statements will lose comparability. That is why we have to follow the accounting policies on a consistent basis. We should not change the accounting policies, accounting methods from one year to the other year. That is called as the consistency concept. Now, let us come to the next concept, that is called as the materiality concept. Now, what do you mean by materiality concept? I'll give you a simple example to understand this point first of all. Accountant purchased a calculator. He purchased a financial calculator. A calculator where he can calculate present values, he can calculate IRR, he can calculate interest, he can calculate taxes. So his calculator is a little bit special. He purchased a calculator by paying 1000 rupees. And he shows this calculator as part of stationery. He debits it to the profit and loss account. Is it correct? Is it correct to show calculator as an expense in the profit and loss account? See, before you give an answer, I have to give you some more information. The calculator has a useful life for 5 years. The calculator is very strong, it is very hard, it is very rigid. You can use it for 5 years, no problem. Without any problem, you can use it for 5 years. It's going to give you benefit for more than 1 year. Now, I think all of you will feel that this calculator should have been shown as an asset because it's going to give you benefit for more than 1 year. But the answer is no. Still, this calculator cannot be shown as an asset in the balance sheet. It has to be debited to the profit and loss account. The account has done the correct treatment. Why? I tell you the reason. The reason is the size of the balance sheet is 25,000 crore rupees. The total of the balance sheet is 25,000 crore rupees, 25,000 crores. Whether this calculator is shown as an asset or whether it is shown as an expenditure does not make a difference to the balance sheet. Nobody is interested to find out whether this calculator has been accounted properly or not because its value is very, very insignificant. The decisions of the investors, the opinion of the auditors, the opinion of the bankers won't change just because a calculator has been shown as an expense instead of being shown as an asset. If you speak very strictly, yes, that calculator should have been shown as an asset because it has a life of more than 1 year. But it is not wrong to debit it to the profit and loss account because it's an item which does not have the capability to affect the decision making behavior of the investors or the users of the financial statements. So even if you show the calculator as an expense, nobody is concerned. That means this information doesn't have the capability to affect the decision making behavior of either the investors, banker, auditor, shareholders. Nobody is concerned. In such cases, you can happily show this item as an expenditure in your books of accounts. It's an immaterial transaction. It's not material information. Now, what is material information? Information which has the capability to affect the decision making behavior of users of financial statement is called as material information. This is called as the materiality concept. Now, what do you mean by the matching concept? See, you have already learned the matching concept. You already are a master of the matching concept. Sir, where did we learn matching concept? I have never learned matching concept. See, you already know the formula to calculate gross profit. I hope you already have learned this concept. The formula to calculate gross profit is sales minus cost of goods sold is called as gross profit. This is example of matching concept. Sales minus cost of the goods which are being sold will give you profit. So you are matching. Sales is the revenue and the expenses for these sales have been subtracted from sales to find out the profit. We are matching the revenue with, we are matching the cost with the revenue. You incur some cost. Out of that cost, you will earn some income. So this cost has been subtracted from that revenue to calculate the profit. I'll give you an example to understand the point. You sold 10,000 units at 200 rupees. 10,000 units at 200 rupees. The sales will automatically be 20 lakhs rupees. Yes or no? It will be 20 lakhs rupees. No. The 10,000 units which were sold costed you 150 rupees. Now tell me, what is the cost of the goods which have been sold? 10,000 units were sold and the cost price of each unit is 150 rupees. So the cost price is 15 lakhs rupees. That is called as cost of goods sold. Goods sold 10,000 to 20 lakhs rupees is the revenue. Cost of goods sold, 10,000 units were sold. Cost price is 150, 15 lakhs rupees. Sales 20 lakhs, cost of goods sold 15 lakhs. The gross profit is 5 lakhs. This is an example of the matching concept. So what is matching concept? Expenses, cost incurred has to be subtracted from the revenue earned from those costs or revenue earned from those expenses. That is called as the matching concept. See, when we prepare our trading account, profit and loss account, we show income for a period of 12 months. And what we show on the debit side, we show the expenses for those 12 months on the debit side. So we are again doing matching, income for 12 months, expenses for 12 months. And we are calculating the profits for the transactions done during that particular period. This is called as the matching concept. I hope by now you would have understood all the concepts, and I am thankful for your valuable time. I hope this should be very useful for your examination. Thank you.